Hello and welcome to this lecture about reporting in quantitative methods. So we will start from the earliest part that affects your thesis or your report, which is, I think, is chapter 2 or section 2. I think that's where we can focus on today's lecture, because one big important element when you are doing a quantitative study is to set your hypothesis, and setting the hypothesis belongs to that second chapter or second section. So even before the method section, which is usually the third one, we need to talk about and discuss how to set the hypothesis in section 2 or chapter 2 in the literature review. So let's think a little bit about how we structure or how we generally structure the literature review. And we talked about it last time in the problematization lecture, when we say that one strategy is to kind of link to kind of concepts like, for example, happiness with whatever you're talking about, like financial stability or something. So you discuss what is happiness, what is financial stability, and then you make it work. Or then you go with the narrowing down approach, and then you go from happiness and then student happiness, and then perception of happiness in online whatever, you try to narrow it down. So based on that idea, that assumption that we structure a literature review like that, the logical thing to do is to set the hypothesis after that discussion. So something very important and a very good suggestion is, don't start setting the hypothesis before discussing the theory. So first discuss the theory, discuss the concepts, and then set the hypothesis. So think about this. Maybe in the literature review, I will give you the example of happiness because it's our assignment, but think about that you start with one subsection, maybe 1 page, 2 pages, I don't know, where you discuss what is happiness in university students. So you explain what do we know, what is happiness, you describe it, and then you give the definition. You also clarify what is not happiness, previous research on happiness, all of these things. So you discuss this is happiness, and can be 1 page, 1.5. And then you have another subsection where you discuss whatever you are going to develop, that we are going to discuss when we have the workshop, but each group will develop a specific concept to link with happiness. So for example, maybe it is financial stability, or maybe it is relationship success. I don't know. We will talk about different factors that we are going to link. So let's assume the financial stability is something that affects happiness. So once you discuss the happiness, then you discuss the other concept, the financial stability. What is financial stability? What do we know about financial stability? So 1 page, 1.5 page. And then after all that, you can either propose a new section where you kind of revise what we know about financial stability affecting happiness in university students. Maybe there is previous research on that, or maybe similar research. So you kind of discuss that research. And then at the end of that first section, you set your hypothesis. The hypothesis is, it should be very clear, very short. It should be, as here is a good example. It should highlight the relationship that you are expecting. So you usually say positively or negatively. And it is always between two concepts. So the concept of financial stability will have a positive effect, or as it is written in here, will be positively correlated with an increasing degree of happiness. So there are different ways to write. I would say the clearest, the simplest is the best. Like, don't try to write too much. It's usually just one sentence. But it should have your, it's like a recipe. It should have your the concept that you are measuring, the concept that you think it will affect, and the relationship between these two. So the more financial stability a student has, the more happiness that student will have. And just said it very bad, very, very not clear, but it should be something like that. Just this recipe of 3 ingredients the two concepts and what is the relationship that you're expecting. And of course, that has to be kind of based on the previous discussion. If you're assuming a positive relationship, it is because you discussed all the papers that found a positive relationship. So you should kind of push it in that way. Of course, you can highlight like maybe studies that found it in a negative way, but then you explain why they found it. You are proposing positive, but you found they were negative in other research. So you need to also to explain why. You can say like, in this specific paper, it was because it was during COVID or something, or it was because it was from art students, and art students behave differently, or some, I don't know. It depends on the study that you find. So it's also interesting and relevant if you bring something new. If it's not totally 100% that A will affect B positively, then it's a bit boring and you're not really problematizing. But so it's a good idea if you bring other examples of how it doesn't work, and then you say, we need to test in here, but we are expecting whatever happens. What else is important about hypothesis formulation? I think just basically like that. Remember, is 3 things that you need to write in that sentence. It comes after the discussion. And if you think in the big picture in that section of chapter, you will start discussing your first concept, the concept A, then concept B, what is A, what is not A, what do we know about A, what is B, what we don't know about B, what all of this, and then the relationship between A and B. And when you finish that discussion of the relationship between A and B, what do we previously know about A and B, you propose your hypothesis. And you finish your literature review, the section 2. So in the next video, we'll talk about the next section, how to talk about the method section, which I think is very important.